Okay, Unit 8, I believe, is the number that we are up to now. We're going to finish up B'ezrat Hashem Parak Gimel here. These Mishnayot are a little bit parenthetical. They're a lot parenthetical. They don't really necessarily refer to Yom Kippur at all. I don't think they do at all. But in the previous Mishnah, you'll recall we ended off learning about how Ben Gamla had added, Ben Gamla had decided that the box that would be used for the lottery to decide which animal would be used would be sent to Azazel, which should be brought as a korban in the Beit HaMikdash on Yom Kippur. So that box that was going to be used for that lottery, so should that box be a wooden box, a simple wooden box as it was for years. And Ben Gamla came along and decided that no, that's not appropriate. It shouldn't really remain that box. It should be a special box made of gold. It should be of a much finer material, being used as part of the avodah. And he did that and he changed it to gold. And the Mishnah concluded, they would recall this action and him in general, l'shavach, for praise. That was an appropriate initiative that he made. That was an appropriate addition that he made. As we discussed, sometimes adding to mitzvot is a good thing. Sometimes you can enhance the mitzvah, make it even more beautiful. You could, not just make Kiddush on Shabbat, but you can sing it and make it a very beautiful, special experience as opposed to just reciting words. On the other hand, if you add too much, if you would, God forbid, add a kli in the Beit HaMikdash, right? Add a new tefillah, something that it's not appropriate, doesn't belong there, not the way that things are set up. So that would be considered Baal Tosef. You're not supposed to add on to things in the Torah. It's a perfect harmony Hashem created. So you don't want to add on to things. On the other hand, you do want to beautify things. So we're going to learn about a couple of cases, once he brought that up, of people who added things, who innovated. Some of them were, again, mazkir and l'shvach, they remember it in praise, and some were not. So the Mishnah Yud begins. Ben Katin Asar Shneim Asar Dad Lakior. Ben Katin is the name of a fellow who came along, and he was apparently he was a Kohen Gadol, and this Kohen Gadol named Ben Katin, so he made 12 levers for the kior. Shelo hayilo ela shnayim, that previously there had only been 2 levers on the kior, and he decided for efficiency that to have more levers, more kohanim can be involved. More kohanim can be involved in doing the avodah. They'll be able to wash themselves more quickly. They'll be able to purify themselves more quickly. They'll be available to do the avodah, and therefore it would be a better thing to have not just 2 levers on the kior. The kior, of course, is the basin to draw water to wash themselves with. So instead of just having 2 levers, there would be 13 levers that would allow for all the different parts of the avodah, the korban tamid, to be done. And that's what he added. Va'afu asa. In addition to that, he also made a muchni lakior. He also made a kind of a machine for the kior. Shelo yihu meimav nifsalin bilina, that the water would not become pasul bilina. Lina refers to resting, to staying overnight. So usually the rule is that things in the Beit HaMikdash become pasul bilina. If they're left overnight, so then you're not allowed to use them the next day. You need fresh new ones the next day. So therefore, any water that would be left in the kior overnight would have to be spilled out, and we have to refill it with new water the next day. However, when this Ben Katan came along, so he made a special kind of a mukhni, a special kind of a mechanism in which the water from the kior would actually be attached to water underground, which was not pasul v'lina, which is kasher, which was holy water. It's in mikveh water. It was completely tahar, and therefore that was fine. And then that water underground was fine. Normally, we would take that water, draw it out, in order to put into the mikveh. In order to put into the kior. But now the water in the kior would actually have this pipe, this mechanism where it would stay in the kior, but yet be attached down to the water underground, and that would allow it not to become pasul bilina. In addition to saving the wasting of water and the tircha, the bother to the kohanim, in general we don't like to take something that's kodesh, like this water that's set aside for a kohen to use, and end up pouring it out, throwing it in the garbage because it becomes pasul b'lina. We try to avoid that as much as possible. So by making the kior in this special way, you are you are able to have more kohanim who are going to use it by adding on extra levers. More can wash their hands at a single time, and you'd also have this muchni, this machine in the kior that would connect the water of the kior to water underground, and therefore making it so that it does not become pasul b'lina, does not consider water that's rained out overnight, and therefore you could use the water from day to day. Okay, those were the innovations of Ben Katin with regard to the kior. Again, since we're talking about innovations in the previous Mishnah, so this Mishnah brings up innovations, some different innovations as well. Munbaz Hamelach Hayosa Kol Yidot HaKelim Shel Yom HaKippurim Shel Zahav. So Munbaz, the king, the different opinions whether he was one of the Chashmonai kings, whether he lived during the time of Agrippas Hamelach. Different discussion here who exactly he was, but he made all of the Yedot HaKelim, literally the hands, but the handles of the Kelim of Yom Kippur was made out of gold. Normally it wouldn't have to be made out of gold. However, he wanted to make sure that as much as possible it would be beautified by making it into gold. So again, this is something that was not required, was not the kelim themselves, of course, were not gold, but at least now the handles would be made out of gold. Hilni imo, Hilni, his mother, the mother of Munbaz Hamelach, Asta nivreshet shel zahav al pitcho shel hechal. She made a golden, translated as a candelabrum, as some sort of a candlestick-looking kind of thing over the hechal of the Beit HaMikdash. What was the purpose of this nivreshet that she made? The purpose was that when the sun rises, earlier we discussed, how do you know when exactly the sun rises? So we discussed you would look out and they would see how it would become light. However, here, there was another purpose over here. They wanted everyone to know when the sun would rise, because when the sun rises, we know that's the time for saying Shema. The optimal time for saying Shema is immediately upon it becoming light in the morning. So by putting this nivreshet, this kind of metal which would reflect light, people would wake up in the morning as it was beginning to get light. If it's still dark outside, they can't say Shema yet. Once it gets light, they can't say Shema. They want to know when the sun rises. Depending on where they live, they might not be able to see the sun directly, but they would look up out onto the Beit HaMikdash. They would see this nivreshet sparkling, and they would know, now it's time to say Shema, the sun has risen, it's time to say Shema and begin the day. So that was, again, another innovation by Hilni Hamalka that she had added. But Afi, the Mishnah continues, another one, Asta Tavla Shel Zahav, Shaparshat Sotak Tuva Alav. She made a tablet made out of gold. Again, once again, we were making things that were not gold before, that don't have to be gold. But here she turned it into gold. She did make it out of gold. Shaparshat Sotah, the parsha of Sotah would be written on it whenever a woman was suspected of being unfaithful to her husband. So as we know, hopefully the Torah describes that she would go and she would have to, the husband would bring her to the Beit HaMikdash and she would have to drink special water, and as part of it she would have to take an oath that she in fact was not unfaithful to her husband. She did not have a relationship with another man. So that oath were words from the Psukim that she had to say, that the Kohen would normally open a Chumash, open a Torah itself and read her the words and have her say them back to her. But now Hilni Hamalka said no, she's not going to read from the Sefer Torah every single time. We'll make this nice tablet, this nice inscription of the parsha of Sotah. Anytime a Sotah comes, we'll read it to her. She'll take the oath using that. You won't have to open the Sefer Torah every time. And finally, the Mishnah says, Nikanor nasu nisim lidal totav. And Nikanor as well. Nikanor was a man who set out to get doors for the Beit HaMikdash. The Gemara describes that Nikanor went to Mitzrayim to get copper doors, and as he was on his trip back, he came across a terrible storm, and he was forced to throw one of the two doors that he had gotten for the Beit HaMikdash that he had purchased in Mitzrayim, and to throw them overboard in order to save his life. The people on his ship insist that he throw them off in order to save everybody. However, that was the one door. When it came time to throw off the second door, Nicanor said absolutely not. He had invested so much personally into these doors, and it meant so much to him that his doors be part of the Beit HaMikdash, that he absolutely refused to throw the second door over. And immediately when he grabbed onto the second door and said, I absolutely would not, I'd rather give up my own life, be thrown into the ocean with it. So then the Gemara describes that there was a miracle, and the storm subsided. When he got to Eretz Yisrael, when he got to Yerushalayim, and he brought this heavy door, he was standing there despondent that he was happy he had one door at least, but despondent that he had missed the other door. So miraculously that other door floated alongside with the ship, and he found that other door in fact came along to Eretz Yisrael along with him, and they were able to find it, and both of those became known as Sha'ar Nicanor, the gates of Nicanor, that area of the Beit HaMikdash. So again, he was bringing those doors. Clearly, miraculously, he was able to actually get the doors to Yerushalayim. That would seem to be a pretty clear sign that was a positive thing that he was doing, and therefore the Mishnah concludes, V'hayu mazkirin oto l'shavach. He would be remembered for praise, to be praised for what he did. So all these people in this Mishnah, you have Ben Katin adding to the Kior. So that was actually making the Avodah work more efficiently, because they had more Kohanim washing their hands, more able to participate in the Karban, as well as making the water in the Kior not become pasul overnight. You had Munbaz Hamelach, who was adding these golden kelim, making it beautiful. Hilni Hamalka, who made this nivreshet on the outside of the Beit HaMikdash to sparkle, let people know when the day was beginning, came time for Shema, as well as the Tabla Shel Zahav for Parshat Sota, and then finally Nicanor, who brought these special doors to the Beit HaMikdash. But then the Mishnah says not everyone who added things or who did specific things in the Beit HaMikdash is remembered in a positive light.